I have been wanting, like I couldn't help myself, been wanting to get into my yard all weekend. But as you'll see in this video, later in this video, you'll see where my husband took off Friday. We had a good time. We went out of town Saturday with the whole family. And I've been wanting to get in this yard so bad. Projects is what I live for around here, whether it's inside or outside. But before that hot summer heat comes here, I was trying to get as much as I could done. But anyway, so I'm going to show you with my newest project that I'm working on, just refreshing up the front yard, putting some new pine straw down. I was a little worried about that pine straw. I wanted to pull it up and put mulch because we live in the country and there's a lot of snakes around here. Now, I'm a country girl from Virginia, but I promise you, I've never seen as many snakes. I don't think I've ever seen as many snakes in my lifetime as I have since I've moved here. So anyway, we are going to put down some snake killer, some strong commercialized stuff over there where in my front yard. And we're going to put it around the whole property lot, but the main thing is in my front yard because my husband, he built a swing out there for us. And one day my little one was out there swinging and she said she heard a noise, like a hissing noise. She looked down and a snake had came from underneath the swing that she was sitting on now and had went past her. So we had to call our neighbor. We call her the snake whisperer. Actually I called two of my neighbors. And they got the snake and did what they needed to do with it. But bottom line is, I cannot be on any part of my property that I pay money and taxes on scared to walk around, scared to sit down, scared to be in my garden because I am a gardener, scared to do projects. We ain't having that. So the snakes got to go. So I'm going to take you to the front yard and show you something I was doing. I had already planted the flowers, but bottom line is the flowers are planted. I just have to freshen it up with pine needle. Oh, and I was such in a rush today trying to hurry up and get up before my daughter woke up until, look y'all, she was like, Mama, do you know that you have your shirt on backwards? I was like, no I don't. Felt the tag and I was like, uh-oh. But that's just what us mamas do. We just get going. We start to move and we don't be thinking about nothing. And besides, I'm at home. So I just want to keep you guys in remembrance that anytime you see me in my garden, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a hat like this. You might get another kind of visor. But I'm not going to be looking cute in the yard. Okay, so let me show you what we got going on in the front. Actually, I'll take you around the property a little bit and show you the flowers. Okay, so here we have one of my hydrangeas. That's one of my favorite plants. I see something back there trying to peep out. Not sure if you can see it. This actually is a blue one. And so we actually brought this plant from where we stayed before we moved into our home here. And oh, there's another one. There's two. They're pretty. You know, you can actually change if the acidity in this plant is changed. This could actually be a purple one. I haven't gotten that deep into changing the soil and chemicals. But anyhow, we're going to try that. We'll probably try that later on this year. So we brought this plant from another place we lived here. And it's done better than it's ever done before. Now these right here, don't laugh at me, but when we moved from Texas to Georgia, I actually brought a bunch of plants in the back of one of my vehicles. And this is actually one. And so by the time we moved out of the place we were living into another place, what had happened was we had to put the plants inside of, that's just a couple of petunias and some mums. But we had put the plants inside of a storage unit because I was determined that my plants were not going to get thrown away. I had traveled that many hours, actually from Texas to Louisiana, because some I brought from Louisiana, my stepmom and my dad had given me. These right here are my lantanas. They're popping out. Now those I bought once since I've been here. But back to that other story. So we had these plants, we're going to walk around. We had these plants in storage. It's a long walk now because this is something new I planted. We had these plants in storage, and when it was time to get them out of storage, we opened up the storage door one day and it was roaches, like literally roaches everywhere. Um, and so I was upset. My husband was upset. And so he was determined that we were going to throw those plants away. I was like, no, we're not. So we took them out of storage. And we still have those. And that was in 2011. Now these right here are some lantanas. There's some pink ones. Not pink, excuse me. There's orange ones. And there's also a purple. Some purple. The purple ones I got clearance at Lowe's. But the orange ones, they were oh, I lost my train of thought. I saw my sweet neighbor. The orange ones I bought regular price, but the purple ones were clearance. And some years ago, I planted some orange ones, well, yellow ones, around this tree, but they did not live. I don't know what the deal was. I think it's because the sprinkler system, first of all, doesn't reach around here. So this time I was determined that I'm going to get out there and hand water this part because I want this tree to really match the other end of my property. So on both corners of my property, I wanted lantanas. Let me see if you can see it real good. That's the purple, and that's the yellow. Now let's go back to the front of the house. So these are the flowers, the lantanas I was telling y'all about that I have to keep watered. Now I know that it did rain yesterday, but it looks a little dry right here. So while I can, I'm just trying to make sure I saturate this ground with a lot of moisture for them. One thing I do want to do is make sure I put some pine needle down here. I have to get my husband to take the weed eater and edge around real good to separate the grass from the dirt. It will be set. You can cut it off. Oh, and back here, my neighbor gave me those. I can't even remember the name of them, but she gave me those. One of my other neighbors, she's heavily into plants and ponds and things like that. So she blessed me with those. And they come back every year. I don't know why that one is leaning. I might need to get some type of rock and kind of push it up against it to kind of give it the firmness of it standing back up again. But again, lantanas are some of my favorites. The reason I love lantanas is because they're perennials, so they'll come back every year. So they might be a little costly when you first purchase them, but once you get them in the ground, they're going to spread and they're going to for sure come back every year. This right here is just a plain old pot. I need to put something in it. So we have a few things growing up here. Some lilies, some petunias. Oh, I planted some lantanas here. Planted about 6 of them throughout this area. There's some Calla Lilies right there. And I can't remember this plant, but when we went to Texas, this is one of the plants I bought back that my stepmom had given me. And so what I did was I took it and I broke it down. Well, actually I split the roots and I planted some closer to the other side of by my front door, that right there. Those ones are leaning too. Now this is what we're working on now. So the other day we went and got some pine needle. So we're going to take this pine needle and spread it alongside of our property. Like right here, these lantanas, believe it or not, we moved in this house. About 5 years ago, I brought a few of them from the property that we were living at. The house we were living at was on a military installation. I had planted these lantanas, and I realized when it was time to move, I couldn't take my lantanas with me because they were so deeply rooted into the ground. So I grabbed a few, I pulled a few up, but then I had to add to this spot. Now in the past 5 years, this is the first spring and summer that they have ever grown this wide. Usually the bushes are big, but the petals, the plant itself is never as colorful as this. So I'm excited about this. Again, now do you see why I love lantana so much? So we have this pine needle. This is where we sit at all the time. And this is where the snake was. But this is the part of my property where you see where my grass has died. My husband's like, why don't we just put some pine needle down here? And I was all for that. The rocks right here, it looks a little messy now, But we had these rocks in our yard, so what we did was we took the rocks. These are more lantanas I just planted this weekend, and this rain that we have had for this many days has really been a blessing to us because it's allowed my things to grow. But this is where I'm planting some things right here. I can't remember the name of them. I just pick up plants because I love them. But this is my other group of lantanas right here that I'm hoping will bush up real good. And then we planted some of these on the hill. So this is where I'm about to put all this pine needle at, just to make it a little fresher. I'll go show you those lantanas real quick from the front part of the yard. But they're getting so big and I'm so excited. So this is Howard Oasis. This is where I do a lot of this gardening. Everything that you see, which I'm not able to show everything. We planted these crepe myrtles here too. But everything you see besides the big old pine trees, we've planted. One day when everything is complete and fully bloomed, I'll have a full video of my garden, front and back. All right, so we're gonna get ready to spread this pine needle out before it gets too hot. And we have company coming over later. So I'm gonna take these over here. So what I have here, I just needed a few more, 6 more to plant. And these are called variegated Repellent. I guess I'm saying that right. Girl, I told y'all I don't know what I'm planting. I just know I like the color, and so I'll just grab things. But anyway, got these at Lowe's. These were actually on sale this weekend. So we're going to put these up here. So I have 6 of those. And I have a few holes. Now, earlier I was talking to you about the snake away. Right here is actually a it's like a snake repellent, and they're little teeny granules that you just put down, spread them out. You're supposed to spread them out like around the borders of where you don't want the snakes to get into. Then again, we brought this from a commercialized business, and so we just love it. We've tried other things from different places, but we love this. And I'm going to actually use a cup, and I'm going to change my gloves and use some different gloves and spread it. The smell is really strong, and what they tell you is once that smell starts to fade away, you're going to have to put down some more of it. So the smell usually lasts a week or 2, but it's really, really strong. I'd rather have the mothballs over this, but this is more effective. So as you see, I have 2 already planted along the border, but I have 5 more I had to go back to the store and get. So I'm going to put these in places where the holes have already been pre-dug. And then I'll put the add potting soil to it. And then we'll have those planted. I do have an extra one because one is going to go on my peel over there. I'll take you to in just a minute. Okay. Now when planting your flowers, you always want to make sure you squeeze from the bottom. Sometimes it's dry on the inside, so if you pull it straight out, you can literally pull the leaves or the flower buds or whatever it may be, the stems, and the dirt to stay in. So you want to make sure you squeeze it. Make sure it's moist most of the time, but make sure you squeeze it as much as you can. Pull it out. Now this is a loose one, loose roots, real soft, so I don't have to do much but mush it in a little bit to kind of break it out. That way when it's down in the ground, those roots will spread out and not stay in one place. So we've added a little potting soil, and again I'm going to break it up a little bit because I want it to go a little shorter than what it is. And then begin to spread your potting soil around. Now this dirt over here is not as bad as the dirt that's in my front yard. In my front yard, my backyard is usually red dirt, and that stuff is like clay. And so if you take that dirt out, put your plant in and pile that dirt back on top, all it'll do it's kind of like suck the life out of your roots. It'll pretty much freeze it. Loosen that up. Last one along this border. Last one. Take this last one to the hill that I told you about. Those are the Lantana that I planted. And all along this hill, I also planted these. All along the hill. So I'm gonna put again, I say be careful with the spiders. You might not even see them. They're there. I'm gonna put these back up. Have to finish spray painting those. So those were just rocks that were left here by the builders at the end of our ditch, and mainly for water drainage. And so we just decided to make a border separating our property from our neighbors, and gonna kind of make it coincide with our color scheme around here, and that's why we painted them black. I didn't really want the silver. So we're all finished putting down the pine straw, and all I'm doing is just kind of, like I said, creating a border so you can see the fine line of where the pine needle starts and the grass ends. Now some of this might look a little chunky, so you just put your heavy or small weight, really nothing big, so it'll scrape more of an area than you want it to. And just continue to border it. Remember, you want to use every bit of that pine needle that you've just placed down. Spread that stuff out. Make sure it's not covering your plants. So you can see what you've planted. The overview of everything. You can see the 1, 2, 3 lantanas. Again, we're going to use that grass, the border of that grass, and cut it back with the weed eater. But doesn't look pretty bad. Have those lantanas in there. They'll pop up soon. Right now you can't even tell they're there from a distance. But I know my babies are there. They'll come up sooner or later. And then we have these. So I'll show you from another end. This is from the road. We're bouncing a little bit. Excuse me for that. Coming down that hill. Looks pretty good. Got a little bit of pine needle on here. Didn't mean for that to happen. Just trying to give it a clean line look. 2, 1. And now we're going to finish our product with the snake away. Again, I'm going to go around the borders of the areas that we really don't want it to get to, because this bag is not going to last for the whole property. But if you can see, they're fine granules. So we'll go ahead and do this. Just put some around the border, even though that wasn't my intent with this bag, but we'll just let you know that scent. They won't be tempted to come across these rocks. So the rest of it I'm going to save, walk around my house.